Welcome back to South Coast Radio, and we highlight music that not only entertains but empowers. Today, we are joined by a true pioneer of South African hip hop and a community leader who has been transforming lives for decades. Founder of the Heal the Hood project established in 1998, he has dedicated his life to uplifting youth through hip hop, culture, arts, and sports, creating platforms for self expression, confidence, and positive change. Heal the Hood has just released a powerful new track titled I Know My Rights, performed by learners from Thomas Volshut Senior Primary as part of their 2025 schools compilation album. Let us welcome Emile YX to the show. Emile, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome, it's great to have you with us today on South Coast Radio. So, for the listeners who may not yet know the full story, tell us about the vision behind the Heal the Hood project and why you started it back in 1998.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time working with with the school, and kids are very influential in asking important questions that I think sometimes we we have a bad habit of pushing to the side.
Yeah.
And because we mentioned in a lot of our songs, information that sometimes is not available in the education system,
Yeah.
which we received from people in the U.S., just a lot of like black consciousness information. And kids kept asking us questions about it. And so we started teaching, different rap songs that we had written as Black Noise. And then also gave them access to information so they could find out more about the topics.
Yeah.
And that just expanded into them learning from actually, they'd recite the whole rhyme. And I was like, this reminds me of when I was at school and we were forced to do recitation. And, even though I'm in my 50s now, I still remember what they taught me. So clearly, the impact of memorization is powerful throughout one's life in actually retaining information. And so that's really what we started implementing into the schools back then.
Wow.
And, the outcome has been amazing.
Wow, that's really awesome stuff, Emile. Now, your latest release, I Know My Rights, is such a powerful title. What inspired this particular song?
The young people are constantly the inspiration. They ask questions like, if whatever is happening to them in the environment, what is the rights that they can implement to stop certain like bullying and things like that from taking place. And so that requires us to go and find the Bill of Rights, find information, children's rights, and share that. And we're actually sharing at the moment copies of small little pocket-sized copies of South Africa's Constitution with young people.
Okay.
Based on the fact that this album is already out, and wanted them to be aware of what their rights are as a citizen in South Africa and what is important for them to actually demand from their government official, and to use the language of public servant more often than political party member, because I feel like that's being missed. People are not understanding that even the president works for the public. It's not the other way around.
True. That's really awesome stuff, Emile. So now the track focuses on educating young people about their constitutional rights. Why do you believe this knowledge is so important for youth today?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me is that these sense of self-worth needs to have information to give people the sense of who they are. And the more you know about your ancestry, the stronger you stand. And I, as a person who's of mixed origin, I visited my part of my family history comes from South India,
Okay.
Kerala to be specific, and so when I was there, I could identify and remember like what my grandfather had told me, and so even though it's extremely far removed, I could identify with all of that heritage,
Yeah.
which goes back 5,000 years. So I feel like we need to embrace all of who we are as South Africans, and also in order for us to demand equality, because most of our education is from a European perspective, and so a lot of our, our South African citizens are actually, led to believe that information is much more powerful than the information from our different tribal heritages around the world. And for me, that it needs to be shifted. It needs to change so that we become much more. How do you put it? Like when you know your heritage and your history, then equality is much more of a reality.
True.
Because right now you can't speak about equality when the information is being taught from a European perspective at schools.
Yes. So you often speak about self-love and identity being at the root of many community challenges.
Yeah.
How does this song help shift that mindset?
Yeah, I feel like knowing your rights is connected to that information that I just spoke about,
Yeah.
and then how to wield that understanding of what your rights are, to demand that you receive equal treatment, demand that have in your community that the way that government spends their money actually includes your community as well, and whoever your ward council is held accountable by the community. So all of those things, I think, is tied to a deep sense of love for self,
Yeah.
and love for your people who look like you in your community. And I'm saying this because I know for a fact that a lot of these guys who are on the Cape Flats involved in gangs wouldn't perpetuate that or perpetrate that violence on someone who doesn't look like them, because of who they don't know about themselves, give them a very negative self-image.
True.
And so perpetrating that violence is actually much easier when you have no worth or no value attached to a person who looks like you. So it's an outward projection of the deep self, basically.
Okay, so this project involved learners from Thomas Vilscott Senior Primary. What was it like working with them on this track and music video?
Yeah, the producer Charlie is one of my students. That he joined the project when I started out teaching breakdance, and so now he's a beat maker and an MC.
Wow.
But he started as a breakdancer, so he's out there at the schools. They're actually doing all the work, because I'm actually back in Cape Town at the moment, because we're trying to make the organization self-sustainable.
Yeah.
And I'm just hanging around them. It's been amazing. Seeing the kids that they work with, and remembering how difficult it was for the kids when they started to, even put together a sentence, because whoever the teacher was demanding that they were speaking in the language that they don't normally speak every day. So on the Cape Flats, we interact with CAPS, which is like a local version of Afrikaans, right? And so we encourage the kids to speak in that language. We actually also have a dictionary coming out at the end of this month.
Wow.
By UWC, because of the importance of giving kids a sense of self-worth, so that once they're able to feel confident enough to communicate in their own language, it becomes easier for them to then transition and ask others to translate, or for them to then feel much more confident to actually speak in any other language as well. So it needs to be from a known to the unknown. And I think that's one of the things, seeing kids move from being afraid to string together sentences to standing on stage with a microphone in front of like 500 people to 1,000 at a concert. That's amazing progress.
100%. And so the song forms part of the Heal the Hood Schools compilation album 2025, featuring 17 tracks from 14 schools. Wow.
Uh,
how significant is this album for the organization?
well, I mean, for us, it was just about documenting the work. I mean, since they started doing this project, they probably made more than 50 music videos.
Wow.
And so this is the first time, and like the kids remind me how old school I am, because I keep saying album, and they like, it's actually a USB that you, so I say the word CD, and they're like, what are you talking about, uncle? So it's not as, yeah. So, just I think that intergenerational conversation is ongoing. And like
Yes.
we're learning so much at the same time that we're sharing with them, we're learning the realities of what they're faced with,
Yeah.
right now in the world with everything that's going on, climate change and, the shortage of job opportunities for
Yeah.
young people. So we're getting a lot of feedback and interaction from them to also make us aware that it's a different reality that they face. And I feel like this album also gives them a perspective that art has there's creative capital that can be generated from your artistic work, So they're like, oh, we can actually sell this and make money from this. And because
Yeah.
the USB actually has both the song and the music video. So it's like 17 songs and 17 music videos on there. And they've been like obviously spreading it around with their families and, just showing off the work that they doing, but also other kids in other schools, because they performed at one event and, they were blown away at like the number of topics and actually the amount of support that they were giving each other. It's amazing to see.
Wow. That's really great stuff, Emil. And Heal the Hood uses hip hop culture and sports as tools for change. Why is hip hop such an effective vehicle for youth empowerment?
Yeah, I think it's the most current form of expression that doesn't exclude anything. A lot of the dancers, they do any style of dance. They're not just break dancers or poppers or
Yeah.
new school dancers. They do anything. And I like that they're much more open than they used to be. When it comes to with the rap, there's also poetry, there's singing. So it's
Mhm.
again like a very broad form of expression,
Yeah.
and it doesn't exclude anyone. And I feel like it's probably the modern day version of what like people back in the day were listening to jazz or rock and roll. So
Yeah.
this is where the young people's minds are, and it's also very rebellious.
Mhm.
You can whatever emotion you're feeling, you can write about it. And
Yeah.
and I feel like what we do with the music videos is we add like the kids who are playing soccer, the kids who are practicing golf. They are part of the music video, and often they remember the lyrics and participate in the videos because it's done over and over to capture the end product of the video.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's the power of where the young people are at right now is actually hip hop culture.
Mhm.
And hip hop culture even, extends into amapiano, and
Yes.
because a lot of that music, the new music, actually comes out of producers who were influenced by hip hop. So
True.
for us, hip hop isn't what people maybe see on television. For us, it's just anything. It's like a melting pot of music, and so we
Yeah.
encourage that for the young people. Also for them to sample traditional sounds from our community.
Wow. That's great, Emil. Now, one of the beautiful aspects of your organization is intergenerational teaching, students becoming teachers. How important is that cycle of mentorship?
Yeah, I think it happened organically for us because, the people I taught, they now teaching, and one of the kids that the guys I taught is now, David is actually part, he's one of their students who's part, he's like taking care of entrepreneurship and as well as social media. And we saw that need because young people are almost glued to their phones. And we
Yes.
wanted them to realize that they have the power. The music videos that we have are actually shot with a phone,
Wow.
and so they can see the outcome of that, what's possible by utilizing their phones for for instead of just the negative that's happening in the community, because we ask that question of them, if you hear about the Cape Flats, what do you think? And they're like, nah, we're tired of hearing about the bad. And we
Yes.
ask them, like, why don't you just film yourself saying something else, or film your mom or your grandmother and create an alternative voice for your community. And so they're
100%.
seeing us manifest that in real time, and I feel like that interaction also, we learned a lot. The older generation learned quite a lot from the young people, because they are masters. Like, they learn so quickly.
True.
And
Yes.
we need to stay up to date with where they're at a lot of the time.
That's true, Emil. That's 100%, and that's correct. So, in communities facing crime and social challenges, what kind of impact have you seen when young people are given creative platforms like this?
I mean, this kid that initially they just came to us. We were one of the first organizations running competitions on big platforms like at the Good Hope Center in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And then, we traveled around the country spreading hip hop and like the different dance styles. And, since then there's been big brand companies that have come in and have, created competitions. And a lot of the kids we taught are now, touring around, dancing on at those platforms, and so we see them make a living from their ability. We've seen many of them travel internationally and be part of like productions.
Yeah.
Some of the kids that we initially took to the World Breakdance Champs have actually created their own events. So there's a lot. We see a lot of people utilizing the basic skill, and I think more importantly, the example that we set. That it's possible, because a lot of kids are told by their parents, it's not possible to make a living from your artistic expression. But also, we don't discourage them from, make sure you get some sort of qualification, make sure you don't have to only have one source of income. If
Yes.
you want to be a rapper, you can also write a book, or you can create a play, or so we encourage to diversify your creative and that's also your income streams, especially in this day and age where you need more than one salary to survive.
Yes. That's true, Emil. Now, what message would you like young listeners to take away after hearing the song I Know My Rights?
Yeah, I think like I tell the kids at the school this, find out what your rights are, encourage your family to do the same, your peers, your friends,
Yeah.
and then demand in any democratic society, the country is only as strong as the people's understanding of their rights and the people's understanding of their constitution and the people's implementation of those expectations from their ward council or their politicians. Because these people, the politicians, are supposed to work for you. They're public servants. And I can't say that enough, because we need to change the mindset that's going around.
Yes.
That people have it's almost like a monarchy.
True.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
so Emil, what's next for Heal the Hood project so far?
We have a space we purchased, property that we're developing into like a what do you call it? Like I was almost said an Airbnb, but it's not really what it is. We're trying to get students from, a lot of students come and do internships with Heal the Hood, but then they stay like in observatory or in the city, and so like a lot of the money that essentially brought them here is spent in places that have nothing to do with Heal the Hood. And so having this space, we are thinking of getting students to actually stay right here in Grassy Park where, our organization is, and for the money that to then be spent on the organization so that we can have more facilitators, more artists to actually teach in the schools,
Yeah.
and that's one of the main things that we're calling it the Hip Hop House and Wellness Center, and we're also trying to in the next probably by the end of this year we'll have a like a mini pop-up container museum on the space where we'll have the history of hip hop in our involvement in hip hop, but the history from 1982 all the way through, where people can actually come to Grassy Park. Tourists can actually come and check out the hip hop museum and find out more about the work that Hilderwood is doing. So that's two of it. Also realized that our funding that we've been for the last 10 years from Olof Palme Center from Sweden ends in June, and so we have to figure out, that's why I said I was here, figuring out ways for the people who have in our community to assist those. So we're looking at dividing the work we do between schools that have access to pay for the work, and then to also help those who can't afford to pay for them to participate in the project. Because I feel that's the way that we need to solve our problems in South Africa.
True.
Is to have the haves assist those who don't have.
100%, Emile. One final question this very moment before we close off. Where can people find the song I Know My Rights, as well as follow the previous releases that Heal the Hood has created? Also, where can people find and follow Heal the Hood?
Yeah, Heal the Hood is it's just www.healthehood.org.za. And it's Hood with HWD, so Heal HEALTHE HWD .org.za. On all the platforms, you can check out the YouTube, which is Hilderwood TV. So all the work that they're doing, all the music videos are up there. The song is available on Spotify and other downloading platforms. You can just type in Hilderwood as well, and I Know My Rights. And then just wherever you find Hilderwood, usually Hilderwood better is another organization dealing with. Funnily enough, created other organizations by the same name. But you'll see us, and we're from the Cape Flats. You can't miss us.
Oh, that's awesome. Emile, thank you for this incredible work you continue to do, and for reminding us that empowerment begins with knowledge and self-worth. And also to you're welcome. Also to the listeners, the track I Know My Rights is part of the Heal the Hood Project Schools Compilation Album 2025, a powerful showcase of youth voices rising from our communities. This is more than music. It's education, identity, and responsibility in action. So you've been listening to Emile YX from the Heal the Hood Project right here on South Coast Radio, and stay tuned because we're going to be playing their latest release, which is called I Know My Rights by Heal the Hood Project. Stay tuned and enjoy.
The radio station you can't live without. This is your radio.
This is South Coast Radio.